Today you'll see 3 makes, 2 tops and a dress. The dress is a hack from the top. And it's a really nice wearable top, very comfortable, easy to fit and wear. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have 3 makes to share. Now this is a treat for myself, maybe even for you, because you get to see a lot today. I rarely sew 3 garments for the same pattern. I have to be extremely excited, and one of the factors that weighed into this, happening 3 makes, is the fact that my mom's here with me visiting. She's still here for a couple of weeks, and a few days ago I showed you some plans, some sewing plans. She picked out her favorite fabrics from my stash, and one of them was to make this pattern. So I already knew I was going to make 2, one for myself, one for her. And then a little dress hack came along down the line, so I ended up with 3. And the pattern I used is brand new from Itch to Stitch. It's called Clemente, and you can see a picture of Kenneth and her version. It's a top that hits the high to mid hip depending on your height. It's nice and loose, easy to wear. It's got a yoke on the front and the back. The neckline is not low or high. It's lower than this. It's definitely lower than your collarbone. And actually you can pull it on over your head. So you do have a detail at the back that allows that to be easier, which is that the yoke has a center back seam that's sewn partially, and then you have a little slit. All this is finished with a bias tape. It has a little loop and a button there, really nice. I think those little slits are super delicate, super cute. If you're gonna wear a hairstyle that will show it off, I think it's pretty. The problem I have with this is my curly hair, my wavy hair, usually gets tucked into that loop and button, and sometimes I have a hard time getting my hair out of that. So I always think, if I can get it on over my head, I'm probably gonna skip that detail in the future. So the 2 tops I made do have that detail, but my dress hack does not have it. Below these little yolks, both front and the back, there's a bit of gathers here. These are not rectangle yolks, there's shaping incorporated into there. So it fits amazingly well. The gathers are a little bit more in the front than at the back. Gives you a nice amount of ease at the waist and hips. And then you have a hem. The sleeves can be short, 3/4 or long. They all have a simple casing with a small elastic at the bottom. And that is the Clemente top, super nice. Because the Clemente top is brand new at Itch to Stitch, it's going to be 20% off through next Tuesday, the 16th of September. I will leave you my affiliate link at the top of the comment section, pinned, super easy to find, also in the description box. If you do end up clicking on my affiliate link and making a purchase, you don't pay anything extra, you still get the 20% off. It's just that part of that sale comes back to me as commission. Kenneth, who owns and designs at Itch to Stitch, will pay me that next month. It's one of the ways I make an income, creating helpful content here on YouTube that you can watch without any cost. So if you use my affiliate link, I'm super grateful. Light to medium weight fabrics are gonna work the best for this one. I like flowy fabrics. It's just my thing. So I would usually go with the rayon, 100% rayon, rayon types like rayon twill, rayon crepe, 100% rayon, the plain weave, and there's rayon cotton blends, rayon linen blends. And then going into the polyester world, you have your poly crepes and things like that. You can even use 100% silk. If you like structured fabric and you just think it's nice and you like that on your skin, I have to admit it's easier to work with it. So then you have your 100% linen, your linen rayon blend, your cottons that are for garment sewing like poplins, chambray, shirting materials, maybe a super duper lightweight denim would be okay. I wouldn't use quilting cotton for this one. I think the gathers here might just be too voluminous with a quilting cotton. Quilting cotton tends to be not too soft or not too light, usually the ones I've seen. Other notions, you need a 1 tiny button and 3/8 of an inch elastic that goes into the casings of the sleeves. Sizes here from 00 to 40 US, goes up to a 62-inch hip. The best thing about woven patterns at Itch to Stitch is that you always get cup sizes. Amazing. A through to double D makes a huge difference in the fit. So check your upper bust and your full bust, the difference between that compared to this chart, and you're going to see what your sewing bust cup size is, which is not the same as your bra cup size. So don't look at what your bra says because it's not going to match. It's just a whole different concept, because in sewing we're fitting the shoulders and the projection the bust has forward. I'm a C cup. I'm sewing one for myself and my mom. I measured her. We're both C cups. So that's easy. Now, when you look at the ease, you're going to see that there's a nice amount of ease here. Bust around 9 inches, waist around 13, hips around 6. So it's a roomy design. I wouldn't get really excited and start sizing down. If you start sizing down, your shoulders might end up feeling fitted, the upper back, the upper chest. So I wouldn't go ahead and size down at the bust at all. Maybe if you wanted to, you can bring it in at the waist and hips one size if you wanted. But for the bust and all of this upper area, I would leave the size as per designed. I would plot my measurements there and do it as is. Now I'm sewing for 2 people here, 2 different sizes. I plotted my measurements here. I get a size 12 bust and waist with a 14 hip. So that's what I did. There's a little notch that marks the waist on the side. That's where I blended out to the next size 14. That was all super, super simple. I initially thought I wanted my top a little longer, but then I decided against and made it as per the original length. It's at the high to mid hip. I still have enough length that I can tuck it in, which makes it easier for styling. But I tend to prefer looser things to be a little shorter. That's what I like. For my mom, I made no changes in the length either. For her, I made a straight size 8 with the C cup. Now, if I plot her measurements down on the chart, she's an 8 bust, a 12 waist, and then back to an 8 hip. We have totally different shapes. She's more of an inverted triangle. She always has been. She's always had small hips. I'm more of an hourglass. So we are not similar in that department. But for a style like this, where it's just loose, if you have a larger waist size in the bust and the hips, you don't need to do anything about it. As I mentioned, there's 13 inches of ease, so it's perfectly fine. I cut the size 8, which is going to fit her bust and her hips, and the waist is going to be accommodated in there, no drama. Leave the blending out at the waist and things for fitted skirts, fitted pants, fitted dresses with darts. When it's a fitted design, then you actually have to figure out and blend and accommodate for different sizes, but not in this design, which it makes the fitting easier. Another thing that makes fitting easier is that we don't have a bust dart right here on the side, so that bust dart has an equivalent, would be the gathers that come above the bust, which they don't have a specific place to be. They don't have to be at a certain height, they're just going to come from above the bust. So that makes it easier to fit as well, which I found excellent. So very easy process, and it was very enjoyable. I didn't try these on, or my mom didn't try this on until the very end. Like, I literally sewed the hem, the tops were done 100%, and then we tried them on and we were happy. What I'm wearing today is a viscose dress from Itch to Stitch. It can also be a top. I did make a top in a plaid. It's a very nice, comfortable dress. I do have a belt because it's a loose fit, and it's one of my favorites. Check out this border print. It's very nice, but the most important thing here is this beautiful neckline finish to the facing. 3/4 length sleeve. It's a gorgeous one. You should check it out. Viscose. I am going to show you the sewing, focusing on that neckline, the main construction. I'm not going to include the sleeves or the side seams, those sort of things, but the beginning, how to put the yokes together and do the loop with the binding and the button, all that's included. You'll see a lot of interesting things, so let's see. Here are the pattern pieces for the Clemente top from Itch to Stitch. I'm doing a little bit of stripe play, so my pieces are in different directions, as you can see. Now, this is the back, this is the front. They're both cut on the fold, and on the top are the yoke pieces. The yoke piece for the front is also cut on the fold. You can see I've got horizontal stripes there, and these stripes are vertical. I think that's going to look cool. The back yoke, I've also cut the stripes horizontal. There is going to be a center back seam on the back yoke and a little slit right there, not on the front. This is the short sleeve. You can also do 3/4 and long sleeve, and that long piece we see here is the binding for the neckline. It's a piece that comes ready, and so I actually use the pattern piece to cut it out. As always, with a woven top, we're stay stitching the neckline. I'm starting with the back neckline. It's 2 pieces here, so I have 2 little pieces to stay stitch from the shoulder into the center. I'm doing it slightly under 3/8 because we're going to use 3/8 later to sew on the binding, and it's a regular stitch length. For the front, because it's on the fold, I'm going to start from the shoulder into the center and then flip the fabric and go from the shoulder into the center. I do that to keep them symmetrical. I don't want to stay stitching one go because it might end up distorting the shape. This is the back yoke. This is the one that's going to have a seam, but only partially. So this is the neckline here from the bottom of the yoke piece. For about 2 and some inches, we're going to sew with a regular stitch length. There's a little mark there. We reinforced and then we just basted the top part. I have actually marked my seam allowance, my seam line at 3/4 of an inch right there with a friction pen. I did that while I was cutting out. It's just going to be easier for me. And I'm actually going to sew it from the bottom up because that's the way I cut it. I'm also trying to match up these stripes horizontally, so I have a lot of pins that I've matched up with the stripes. And I'm removing these pins a millisecond before the needle goes over them. Okay, I reinforced, and then the rest is a long stitch length for the base. I'm going to head over to the iron and press this open. I'm going to do 2 things while I'm there. So this is going to be pressed open, and then the whole seam, we're going to fold the raw edge up to the seam right there, and then like this. I'm going to do that super neatly on both sides, of course, at the iron. I'm going to put a pin to let me know where the stitch length changed. Okay, I've been at the iron. I've pressed that raw edge right there to match the seam. It looks super, super neat. I've given it a quick hand base to keep it from moving. Now, from this side, before doing this, I put a pin there to mark where the stitch changes. And it's sort of easy for me to know because it's that first wider blue stripe. So after top stitching these 2 seams, I'm going to go open this up and we're going to have the little slit already. This is another presser foot. This has an L on it. It's also a type of blind hem presser foot, but different. When you move this, it moves this edge in or out. So you can actually get whatever seam allowance you want, and it's really helpful. I've set it here to about 1/8 of an inch. I know exactly where the stitch length changes. I can see it. I can see my blue stripe. And now I'm just going to unpick this upper area. Super easy. And here we have our yoke piece ready to go. Bottom part is stitched. Upper part is not. There's going to be binding with a little loop and a button. This is the back piece extended. Here is the partial armhole. The rest of the armhole is in the yoke piece. So this is the back. There are little marks right here, a little further in from the armholes. There, and that's where we need to do gathering stitches in between 2 rows. I'm going to do one at 1/4 and one at 5/8. The seam we're going to use later to unite the yoke with this one is going to be 1/2 inch, so I want my gathering to be right in there. At the bottom of the yoke piece, a little further in, we have these marks right here, and those are going to match the back right here. Let me just scoot this up. Those little marks are going to match right there, and you can see how much excess we have here together. So I'm just going to put these right sides together, the back piece on top of the yoke piece, and line everything up. So from this part into the marks, it's 1 to 1, but then we have excess here and there. I also pinned it in the center. So it's just about pulling these threads in these sections. I like to do it in separate sections from the extremes into the center to gather them equally. It's easier than just doing it in one go. So it's not a huge amount of gathering here. I think it's just a little delicate detail. And it's the same process we do in the front and the back. It's all the same. The difference is that the front yoke is cut on the fold and the back yoke has a seam, but that doesn't really affect what we do with the bottom parts here. I like that the gathers are going to distort the stripes. I think that's a cool look. I would definitely always want to have vertical stripes here. I don't think gathers on a horizontal stripe look really nice. So that's something I would never do. So I'm keeping the yokes horizontal and these stripes going vertical here. So the seam for uniting these is 1/2 inch. And when I get to the gathered section, you're going to see I'm going straight through that distance from the gathering stitches I did before. That's why I did one at 1/4 and one at 5/8. So I wanted my seam to land in the middle there somewhere. Okay, here I've got the back all gathered, sewn together. I've also got the front, which was exactly the same process, just that the yolks are a little different. I'm going to go ahead and serge, press the seam up. And the instructions mention some edge stitching. But for rayon, I don't really enjoy edge stitching. I don't also like putting a lot of thread across stripes. So I'm not going to do that. I think the pressing is going to be enough for mine. But I would definitely consider edge stitching if it was linen or chambray or some solid where you could see it. But I'm not doing it. Now comes the mindless task of serging everything. I think it's great to serge before sewing because it allows you to press the seams open. Shoulder areas up there, side seams. I'm even going to do the sleeves right now, these two little seams right there for both of them so that they're ready for later. This is the biased piece for the neckline. So the instructions say to fold it in half once, like that, and then fold half of it towards that crease. That's fine if you don't have a bias tape maker. I have a bias tape maker, which is basically going to achieve that. So you can see the folds are reaching the middle. So we only need to have one of these folds, but I'm just going to fold the whole thing. And then I'm going to fold one of these sides open because we just need half of this creased. But this is going to make it so much easier that I don't have to be pressing a whole bunch of times. So this is a bias tape maker that has the 18 on the other side. They come in packs, you know, they have different sizes. This one says 18 there, 18 millimeters, which is 3/4. So we only need one of these sides. So I'm going to unfold one of these creases and just extend it and only leave one side pressed in. That's what we need for this technique. And then we're going to pin this to the neckline. I've got the binding pinned to the neckline, right sides together. And this is a slit. There's a little difference here. On the right wearer side, if I were to put this on, this would be on the right side of my body. I have 1.5 inches protruding here, or 4 centimeters. And on the left side, I just have 1/2 inch left over there. So that make sure that that's correct. I pin this first, measured, and then I pin the rest and it matches 1 to 1. So if you've cut it properly and you haven't stretched it out by over manipulation, it should all fit fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew with 3/8 seam allowance. Okay, there is a 3/8 seam allowance. Now we have to trim this down just a little bit by like 1/8 of an inch. We basically want to leave the seam allowance here like 1/4. There's no way to actually measure that just by eyeballing, so I know what 1/4 of an inch is, and that's what I'm leaving here. This side that only has 1/2 an inch left, this is going to be on the left wearer side. All we need to do now is fold this like this, and then fold it down like that. And so this fold is going to cover that seam right there, and that's how we're going to top stitch it down. So again, just fold that excess in, fold it again, and that's how that end is finished right there. So this is coming to the inside of the blouse there. Now on this other side, it's a little bit different because we have all this excess that's going to form a loop. So basically we still fold it like that, we still fold it like this, but then we bring this over and form a loop and tuck it in under there, right there. So that is going to form the loop. So that is the only difference with this other longer side. I've got all of this hand basted. Now we're going to be top stitching from the front, and it's open here at the back. So I've made sure I have enough and that I am going to be catching everything. So this space is slightly wider than this space. If you can see there, that's the distance I'm going to use, like 1/8 of an inch. And I've got a little bit more here. I'm going to start right there, top stitching. But over here, I don't want to sew all the way through because from this side, I need a little gap to put the loop through like that. So I'm going to leave a small gap here. I'm going to stop, leave a little opening, and then keep going. And then when I tuck the loop in, I'm going to top stitch again. Here is this side with this excess. You can see I've sewn it there. There's a little gap. I left a little gap open there so I can bring this and tuck it in under there. Okay, I've tucked it in there. That's the little loop. From this side now, I'm going to pick up here where I'd stopped and just finish closing this up. Fix that little loop that's in place, tucked in there. Little bit fiddly, but it's going to be a delicate detail. There it is, all done. So then on this other side is where the little button gets sewn, and then this is the loop that's going to hold it there in place. Now the rest is simple construction. I have side seams that still need to be sewn. I have a hem. I have a sleeve to set in. The sleeve is a regular sleeve. It doesn't have gathers up here. It's just set in like usual. It's just that at the bottom there's going to be an elastic casing. My mom chose a fabric that I'd had in my collection since 2018. So I had seen it there for a long time. She loved it. She loved the colors. It's got stripes. And this is a different type of fabric. I'll put the composition here, but it's a rayon cotton blend. It's nice and drapey like rayon, but it's not too floppy. It's got a little bit more structure like cotton, but mainly rayon because the composition is mainly rayon. So it makes it perfect for this because it's not going to be as structured as using something that's just cotton. The rayon here makes a huge difference. These stripes here are cut on the cross grain, horizontal stripes. This is how the fabric came. So this would be the regular grain. Remember, I don't have an existential crisis about cutting things on the cross grain. I do it all the time as long as I've pre-washed my fabric and I know the design is going to be okay for it. This is fine. It's got plenty of ease. I'm not concerned. Back has a seam, but I managed to match up all the little stripes. You can't even tell. There is a little slit and there is the bias tape with the loop and the button. Now, my mom can also just pull this on over her head. So I think this will just stay like that permanently and this will just look pretty like that. My mom has sort of straightish hair, so she doesn't have that problem with the hair getting tangled in there like I do. So she's happy with that. Little bit of gathers right here, gathers over there. You can see the yoke is slightly curved. I have my short sleeve with the little casing and the elastic. I tried on the elastic against her arm. She doesn't want it to be tight at all. So you're going to see it slightly loose on her, but that's how she wants to wear it. And then there's a normal hem. Look, sometimes in instructions, you see for hems to fold up twice, one by a certain amount and then the next time by a certain amount. I have a real hard time doing that. I just prefer to fold up once. So I just add and check out what the total hem allowance is, serge and fold up once. That's my preference. I just enjoy the one layer fold more than the second layer fold. It doesn't make a difference visually. No one's ever going to know. But just so you know, that's how my hems are here. I've just folded up once, same as on this one over here. My mom, she doesn't have many things to style her makes here with. She brought barely anything. So it's jeans. She has a lot of preference for wearing jeans, and these colors go perfect with jeans. So let's see it on her. This is my mom's Clemente top in a rayon cotton blend, stripy. I've done some stripe play with the direction here of the stripes. She's dressed it very casual with her jeans and sneakers. My mom's in her 70s. She's all about comfort. So this is totally her style. Up closer, you're going to see a little more of the details. Hers is a straight size 8. Her waist is actually a size 12, but there's no need to blend. There's plenty of ease. Look at that detail of the bias tape. I love stripes on the bias. It looks so gorgeous. Horizontal stripes on the yoke, little slit at the back with a button loop, delicate gathers above the bust, below both of the yokes actually. She wanted her sleeve about 1.5 inches longer than the short sleeve. So customizable sewing, that's what I do for her, and it's really comfortable with the little casing at the bottom. She wanted that to fit loose as well. I'm very happy I got to make it for her. The fabric is amazing. It's nice and fresh and soft, and she's got one more garment to wear while she visits me here in Brazil. Sewing for mom, it's always a delight. She's happy, I'm happy. At the end, we did do a little funny clip where we're modeling these together. So yeah, don't step out. Just wait a little bit. Mine is sort of the same concept. I have stripes. I have done the exact same way of cutting it, the same horizontal stripes versus the vertical. I've done all the same. My fabric is a rayon 70%, 30% linen. It's a little heavier, it's a little bulkier, but still nice and drapey. And my stripes are different. They're in the gray tones. So there's a lot of white and gray here. I think it's really, really beautiful. This is a neutral. This will go with any color. And it's all the same. I love how stripes look on the bias. I think it's always so stunning. So I love that feature there. Again, I have my little slits. I have all the details, although I know I'm never going to take this off. I'm just going to pull it on. I've already done this many times for the modeling and everything, and it goes really easily in. So no worries there. Here's my sleeve. I might actually dig in here and make my elastic like an inch longer. I did measure this against my arm, but then when I sewed it, I overlapped it too much, and it's a little fitted. Like I can feel the elastic. So I'm actually going to go in there and do that again afterwards. I have the original length. It's all the same. I love that Kenneth has us serge the edges first before sewing the seams, because then we get seams that are open and pressed, which is beautiful for woven garments. So yeah, let's see this one on. Style 3 ways. Dressed up, dressed down, tucked in, tucked out, all the ways. Here is my Clemente top. It's the same concept as my mum's version with a stripe play. It's just that this is a different fabric. This is Rayon 70%, 30% linen in grey tones. I've got my top paired here with a white denim skirt. I think it goes really well, nice and loose, no need to tuck in. Super nice. I've made no changes to the fit, size 12 with a C-cup blend to a 14 hips. And I really like the fit. Very comfortable shoulder fit and sleeve fit. So nice. I love that bias tape again with the stripes. It looks so pretty. You can actually put this on over your head without needing to undo the little loop. I did the loop because it's part of the pattern at the back. I think it's a nice little detail. I like loose thing. I love loose garments like this. I love loose garments, comfortable to wear, that are easy but also cute. You know, this is not a shapeless thing. This is not a basic. It's so nice, and it was so enjoyable to sew. I've tucked it into this skirt here so you can see how that looks. It's always a possibility as well. Dressed it up a little bit with beautiful heels. The black and the grey tones, or neutrals here. There's no way to go wrong. And this would be a type of church outfit for me. Of course, I could wear this tucked out. What I do though, if I was going to wear the blouse out, is just wear sneakers or something much more casual. I think with the heels and the top loose, it looks sort of strange. So whatever you want to do, wear it out or wear it in, it's going to be fine. The length is enough for you to be able to tuck it in. But that's how it looks, like nice and loose. A pair of grey sneakers would go amazing, you know, with that skirt and the blouse. This was my mom's favorite look for me, with the jeans fitted at the waist and hips, but then flared. I think the flared style of the jeans, even though they're fitted, balances out the outfit with the volume on the top. The length is perfect, no need to tuck in. And this would be perfect for a long day out, or I could be super comfortable, not worry about anything, just live my life, breathe, eat, do all the things, and just be comfortable wearing a cute top. Have a look at a little clip of Mum and I being a little silly. Here is us together, just being silly and just going with the flow. No planned script for modeling here. We just started, you know, playing around. So this is a nice fun clip that I'm going to really enjoy having online for years to come. You know, we can come back to these memories. Mum and I were living very far apart. We only see each other once or twice a year. So this is special. We match almost. About the hack, I have a few clips about it. I basically found a dress that was 100% lyocell. It's also called tencel. It's a beautiful type of fabric. I've had it here for years and years and years. I bought this in Chile in a thrift shop over there. It was a type of dress that's like a cami style dress, very low cut, thin spaghetti straps right here. Very long, very loose, a couple of sizes above my size with a big ruffle at the bottom. When I had the idea to film myself for the before, I had already taken off that ruffle. So you're not seeing that ruffle there, but there is a 10-inch ruffle at the bottom that I already unpicked. I thought this is enough fabric. I'm sure I'm going to get a Clemente dress out of this one. I've unpicked my dress. You saw how it fit. It was pretty oversized, very low cut with very revealing neckline and arm area, just little straps. So all the binding that was up here on the neckline has gone. I'm going to reuse that. And I've got my pieces on the fold here on the table. Everything fits just right to make the Clemente top a dress. So I've got a yoke piece. This is the back yoke. There was a seam allowance here for the slit, but because I know that my head can fit normal without needing to open it, I'm not going to do that detail here. So I folded that 3/4 of an inch seam allowance here away, and I'm just going to cut this back yoke on the fold. It fits just right. It's right there hitting the edge of the fabric there. This is the piece that goes on the bottom. And what I have available here to extend equally for both of these pieces is 8 inches. So I've kept the same angle, just lengthened it. I drew it there with a pen, kept the same curve, and I've done that to both pieces. So I'm adding 8 inches. Now that might seem like a mini dress, but that's not all, because at the bottom of this dress, originally there was a little ruffle. I had removed this ruffle before I filmed the dress on. I'd forgotten to do that. So this was already off. And I'm going to be adding this same ruffle to the bottom of this dress right here. Now, my dress is going to end up narrower here than the original dress. So I'm going to get more gathers in the ruffle, which I'm all about. If I add this length plus this length, it's going to be the right length for me. It's going to end up mid-knee and then above my knee if I put a belt on. So on the other side, I have the front yoke on the fold there, right there, hitting the edge of the fold of this shape, and everything fits just right to get this dress. And here is all the binding that I removed from here. I'm going to use this to do the sleeveless armholes because I'm not doing sleeves here, and to do the neckline. I've got plenty or reusable. Order of events here. I did the stay stitching on the neckline like always. I also stay stitched the armhole in sections because I know it's going to be sleeveless. I've joined my yokes to the bottom pieces with the gathering right there. I've sewn the shoulder seams and the side seams only partially. So I've left about 4 inches free here at the bottom so I can add the gathering, the front and the back separately, and then finish up, pick up there and finish the rest. I prefer that than sewing a huge, humongous ruffle at the bottom. It's just so hard to manage if it's just one piece on the round. So I'd rather work on one separately and then the next. I am leaving the ruffling bit for the end though, because I'm going to try on now, figure out if I'm happy with this armhole. Maybe I want to make it a little bit narrower over here, just a little bit, because it's going to be a sleeveless armhole. I'm going to fiddle with that, do my binding on the neckline and armholes. That's priority for me. These are areas that are vulnerable to stretching out. So I want to do that as quickly as possible. And then when that's sorted and I'm happy, that is going to be the last step right here, the ruffle. It's going to be very ruffled. Look, I mean, the excess is 2 times the amount, I think. It's going to look amazing. I do this all the time. I have a bunch of pins here. I think these are a little wide to just leave it like that. Sometimes I leave it, sometimes I don't. But just so it looks more sleeveless style, I'm going to bring it in by about 1 inch. So I do this on my body. I just pin and see how much I want to take in. So I'm slowly tapering out back to the original armhole when I get to underneath the yoke seam right here. So I think I'm going to be happy with that. It's going to be the same right here. And on the bottom, right here, I might take it in by 1/4 inch on each side, but just on the top area for maybe 2 inches, and then taper back to the regular seam allowance, which is 1/2 inch. After that, I'm going to have a very happy armhole and I can bind it. This is how it came out. I reused the binding. You saw how I adapted the armholes. I just made it narrow by 1 inch here on the top and then just tapered back to the original curve. Once I'm happy with one side, I just transfer the mark on the other and do the same. Took it in a little bit here, 1/4 inch on each side, just under there. Remember, this armhole was designed to have a sleeve, but you can always tweak it to make it sleeveless. I never have a problem with that, especially if the cup size is fitting perfect. Usually the armhole is not going to have a lot of gaping either. So it's just about taking it in a little bit, maybe, and making it narrower. The original neckline, I could have made it lower, but I just left it as is. No center back seam, no loop, nothing. It's all perfect. I couldn't have done it even if I wanted to, because my yoke was not fitting on the fabric. You know, remember, I'm working with a dress that I unpicked. So even if I'd wanted to do the slit, I would have folded that seam allowance away. Easy peasy. Lovely gathers. This tencel fabric is perfect for this design because it's super flowy, but it's not super light either. And then at the bottom, we have the big ruffle. It turned out very ruffly compared to the original dress because my circumference at the bottom was a little narrower. It's really hard to show, right? It's beautiful. It's just so, so good. It took me about an hour and a half to make. It was at the end. I wasn't filming. What took the longest was adding on the binding. I used the same one that I already had, and I'm so, so happy with it. You know, you saw that I extended my piece, my Clemente top, by 8 inches front and back. But then I had this ruffle that's 10 inches. So I basically have 18 inches extra length from the top to get it to hit below the knee when I'm just wearing it loose, and for it to be mid-knee when I'm wearing it with a belt, which is 100% how I want to wear it all the time. So yeah, let's see this one on. It's just amazing. I'm so happy with it. This is my upcycled Clemente dress. It's a top originally, but I hacked it into a dress. I just added 8 inches to the main body of the top. And then there's a 10-inch ruffle at the bottom, which loose like this fits right below the knee. This is cute loose, but I probably feel better if I have a belt. Look at the amount of ease. I have a size 12 bust C-cup blended to a 14 hips. And now with the tan color belt, I think it looks so much better. It gives me some shaping, and it's exactly the way I'm going to wear this beautiful dress. The tencel was in amazing shape. This was a used garment that I completely unripped and used to cut my new pieces. The ruffle was in the original dress, so I reused that. That was very helpful. And the yoke, the gathers above the bust, that is all the Clemente, the feet, everything. And check out up close this beautiful binding that I reused from the original dress. It's very thin. I was able to just wrap it around the raw edge again, adapt the armholes a little bit to be a little bit narrower at the top, and I took it in underneath by about 1/4 inch. The back yoke is on the fold, no little slit there. I couldn't have done it even if I wanted. I didn't have enough fabric for it. And this dress turned out amazing. I love this color. It's so nice. And it's so much more satisfying knowing it came from a used garment that no one was really using. I was able to tear it apart and give it new life by sewing this Clemente top / dress hack. It made me really, really happy. Isn't it great when you can make a dress from a top? I mean, I think the details are so beautiful in the top. You know, why not have a dress? And a ruffle is always so easy to add on at the bottom. Just cut it out, a rectangle, measure it, have it be at least 1.5 times the amount you have at the bottom. This one was double the amount, which I think is perfect, ideal actually. So I'm very, very happy I have a dress, a hack. It's sleeveless, it's got a ruffle. It's so nice, and with the belt I think it looks beautiful. I recommend. I had a real good time sewing up these 3 versions. They're all in the neutral blue tones. I think they turned out amazing. Go ahead and make yourself a dress, make the pattern go even further, which is the best thing. I really enjoyed these, especially because I made one for my mom, which is always the best thing. Remember, the Clemente top is on sale through next Tuesday, the 16th of September. All the information down below. That's all from me today. I'll see you again tomorrow over here at this channel. Bye. See you soon.